Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Peer Guidance. This is a live show. If you have any questions, plop them in the comments section. We will answer them. If you're watching this after the fact on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, whatever other platform, and you have a question, put it in there. We will get notified, and we will ask. We will answer them. I also wanted to talk about what's scrolling at the bottom: Thriving Minds, Empowering Innovators. It is a course that we have created with the ladies, Kira and Sarah from Collectively Tangled, to talk about and work with entrepreneurs about mental wellness and making sure it's a journey you don't take alone. And we'd like to thank, Calgary Innovation Collision, Platform Calgary, Innovate Calgary, Rainforest Alberta for their support with this. We think it's very important. There's going to be 7 courses. The first one is, I guess, next Thursday already. So if there is, the link will be in the sign up section right away. And you can just click on it. And it is free for entrepreneurs. And I am excited about this conversation because, number one, it's Startup Week in Edmonton. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there with unforeseen circumstances, but we have Kerri from CAMS, from NAIT with us. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Well, I'm fantastic, other than the fact that, welcome to Calgary. Been living here for 23 years, and now there's a Chinook rolling through, and my head's pounding, and migraines, snuffles. I'm looking forward to leaving one day and not having those.
Probably why you should live in Edmonton then, right?
I should, and
it's a disadvantage of Calgary. The clear divide.
If I should be living in Edmonton at any one week, it should be this week, and I should be there hanging out with all my startup friends and people, and Edmonton Unlimited, and I know Health Cities has a kickoff today, so it's got to be pretty exciting in Edmonton this week.
Yes, the vibe is great. It's a great, exciting week, and we also had Life Sciences Week previous week, so it's been a really great month or last couple of weeks here in Edmonton.
Oh yeah, the Life Sciences Week was great as well, and I attended a few events down here with that. So that's exciting. So we're pretty pumped about that. But we're not here to talk about Startup Week, even though we kind of are, and it's a part of it. You know what? I want to learn a little bit more about the Center for Advanced Medical Simulation. Please share how it got started, and then we'll kind of dive into the entrepreneur side of it a little later. But let's share a little history about CAMS.
You bet. So CAMS, also known as the Center for Advanced Medical Simulation, we opened our doors. We were a new build on the NAIT campus in 2016. So when we opened our doors in 2016, we really focused on the simulation training aspect, so patient safety. So how do we really embed simulation training into our programs that we have at NAIT? So we are a hub and spoke model. So we have a simulation center. So we have over 7,000 square feet, including our ambulance box. And all of our programs would come and do their simulation training within our center. And we have multiple different programs at NAIT, allied health programs, everything from paramedics to respiratory therapists to we have diagnostic imaging such as sonographers and MRI, as well as med lab sciences. So we have this really broad stroke of health professions that use our simulation center. And what we do is we recreate that clinical aspect. So it can be a hospital, but it can also be pre-hospital care, such as home care, different types of centers, as well as the versatility of creating intersections. And we have this really great Theater 9, we call it. So it's an extended reality. We can have helicopter landings for D&D. We can have different types of intersections and river valley scenes, and we can recreate any scenario that we need to. So initially when we opened, it was predominantly for training programs to really help our students. And since then, we've really evolved to working with industry, conducting research, and of course, our most recent endeavor is helping the innovation space and that health innovation space within Alberta and really contributing to that Alberta ecosystem.
I mean, as we heard last week, there's so many great things, going on with, in health tech, life sciences. I mean, we're actually in January, Startup TNT is going to be running their 3rd Life Science Investment Summit. We've seen a lot of good, API is doing such great work with, Andrew and his team up there. So how was that kind of a I want to say a no-brainer kind of to get into that, or how did you say, okay, you know what, we can really help entrepreneurs in Alberta, with their technology and figure things out before they get to market?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it kind of, I don't like to say the silver lining of COVID because I'm not sure if anything great came from COVID. However, one thing that did come is once all of the hospitals and clinical setting had basically closed their doors, we had a great facility that we worked with Alberta Innovates that said, we can't stop health innovation. How can some of these innovators do some usability testing with their products without actually being able or being allowed to enter into different types of clinical care settings? Like, how can we do this in a safe environment? So what we started to do, we worked on an Alberta Innovates grant as a proof of concept, saying, hey, we think we can actually use simulation to help innovators with their usability testing. Instead of stopping the innovation, we can actually be a part of that pipeline. And we were able to do some investigation and see that it has been used in the US as well. So we said, we can really look at this. So we were able to apply for an Alberta Innovates grant. We were able to prove out our proof of concept that simulation is a vital role within that usability testing, especially for these very early startups when they have this minimum viable product. Let's get some feedback early on. And then that led to a larger Alberta Innovate grant, which was the Health Innovation Partnership Platform. So that was a 3-year project that we are now in year 2.
This is, again, I mean, I talk about this every single show. The importance of government support, the importance of all the great things, all the collaborations that go on in here, in our great province that isn't out there, in a lot of other provinces.
Yeah.
So it's good to see, because it is important, especially, as an investor and as somebody who's invested in life sciences and health tech. It is so important for the entrepreneurs to have somewhere where they can go, because number one, it's not like just kind of creating an app. You're talking devices that could be saving lives or getting you off getting off addictions, or so many umbrellas of the life science world. So I think it's such an important part of giving back.
Yeah, I would agree. When we really look at population health or a healthcare system, it is very convoluted. And not only is it convoluted, it's very complex. Is a social problem a health problem? Is a health problem a social problem?
Yes.
So when we have these great entrepreneurs that are willing to venture out into this health innovation space, we're really looking at how do we support them as an Alberta ecosystem. And where we saw we could add value is we have a roster of healthcare professionals. So we're really able to look at it from a system perspective and help that innovator really design out simulations with the right end users in place, because often the innovators won't necessarily know who that end user is, that the end user might be an occupational therapist, it might not be the nurse, or it might be a med lab assistant. So just depending on what type of environment, we help them build out who those end users are, the actual scenarios that their device would be used in. We can record everything for them so that it really helps them build on their device design. It's actually really imperative because it also contributes to that patient safety as well, because we're really looking at a de-risked environment for testing.
Are you able to, I mean, I'm just throwing this out there, but are you able to share some examples of people that you worked with there? Maybe, I understand NDAs and you might not be able to
Yeah,
do it, of companies that have come to say, hey, this is a really good, they've used a realistic simulation and done some product testing through you guys?
for sure. So one of the companies, that comes to mind that we've worked with several times is Mach 32.
Oh, I love Chris.
Great Alberta company, Alberta story. So we were able to do some usability testing in what I called previously our Theater 9. So we were able to reconstruct an intersection and have a mannequin that can actually take the auto injector injection. So we were able to run out that scenario. And most recently, you'll see on their LinkedIn page as well, is they have a video for a pitch competition. So we were able to then transform our Theater 9 into a helicopter military scene, and that you'll be able to see through that video is again, we're able to go through that real life simulation with their product design. We've worked with companies that have wearable devices. How does this wearable work in a home care setting? As well as digital health companies that are looking at remote health monitoring. So how does that work for the patient when they're trying to use it, as well as those healthcare professionals coming into their homes? So you have different healthcare professionals that serve patients within their homes, and how do we monitor that remotely? So really helping these companies understand that system, getting the right user, and of course, getting that feedback and the data they need to improve their design, as well as for the regulatory approval, collecting that evidence throughout.
And when someone like Chris and his team work with you, they obviously they have access to medical professionals and I mean, I know you guys have a partnership that with the UFC down here. So is it something that that you're able to share and ask for help that maybe open up doors that they may not be able to open up with experts?
For sure. So that's one of the things that we've built out as well, is we call it a health innovation roster. So any
Mm,
type of health professionals can actually sign up on our website. We really look at, what levels of experience, what type of clinical experience, because somebody in a city like Edmonton and Calgary will have a very different experience than working in rural Alberta. So we're really looking to blend out that roster and really reach to our network if we are missing different professions or need some kind of specific expertise in one area. We really rely on that Alberta ecosystem and that collaboration to get those end users. And one of the really important aspects is when we're collecting this type of data or evidence, you want it to be unbiased. You
oh
want,
yes.
and I know you as an investor probably really looking at it from that lens as well. You want some feedback from somebody that is, arm's length from the product, the design, and that's what the roster of us bringing in end users and working with these companies really helps us do as well, and helps that company get that sometimes unwanted, but very much needed feedback as well.
I don't think there's no such thing as unwanted feedback.
Yeah.
I think all
In
feedback
the
is important,
moment.
positive and negative, right? It's especially in that medical side of the
Yeah.
of the world. I think that's so important because you just never know who might be able to give you that one piece of advice or that one little recommendation that could make a difference.
Yeah. And it can also help shave off some of that commercialization time. If you're
Yes.
testing early and testing often, you're actually able to to modify the device design and improve on it earlier than going too far down in the process. And then you're already getting to the clinical time when you realize you have to go back and actually make some changes. It
Mhm.
becomes much more expensive as the further down you go.
No, absolutely. I'm talking with Kerri with CAMS, the Center for Advanced Medical Simulation, out of NAIT in Edmonton. If you have any questions or want to find out anything more, just click on the website in the comments section. So, how would one, you know, get in touch with, not get in touch with you, but how about the intake process? So if you have Jade's medical device company wants to kind of get involved and use you, what are the steps to get involved, and what are the criteria that they need to kind of be accepted?
Yeah, so for sure. So there's a couple different ways to get a hold of us. Website is the easiest way. Fill out an intake form. We're able to reach out with our team, have a discovery call. First, we want to see if it is a fit for your device or your product. So we look at a discovery call first. Once we determine if it's a fit, we then move on to what we call a consultation with the company. And that's when we really start to flesh out. So we have a researcher that works with us, and we're really looking at what is the product, who your end users are, what are the scenarios, and of course, what are you trying to accomplish with the testing, so that we're able to build out the interview questions for end users. So that we're ensuring that we're there to really partner and collaborate with the company to ensure that they get a customizable service that they need from our center.
Is there any is there, I don't want to phrase this. Is there anybody that wouldn't qualify? Like, that's saying like, okay, well, maybe you don't have any medical devices, even though it's a life science company, and maybe it's a drug or anything along those lines.
Yeah, so there would be some companies that wouldn't be fits, I would say, are not kind of in alignment with what we do.
Yeah.
Um, However, it really depends on what that company is looking for. So if it's anything with internal, so like a stent, for example, within the body, so it's an invasive procedure.
Okay.
However, we have used the center to produce training materials to
Ah,
provide to the surgeons, not necessarily for the simulated surgical procedures.
yeah.
So that's where it's really important, because we are so customizable, is to have those conversations with the companies to see what they're looking for. As well as, Mach 32, we started really at testing that usability testing early on. And then down the line provided, that video, that training video for them. So it's
Yeah.
really looking at the breadth of what that company needs.
And I think that's a valid point of also, what, if you don't know where to turn to reach out anyway, right? Like chances are, Kerri, that you're going to know
Yeah.
somebody to say, hey, you know what? There's a doctor in Calgary, there's a doctor in Lethbridge, somebody here in Edmonton that would be able to, maybe
Yeah.
give this entrepreneur, a step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. And that's our goal, is always to add value, to add benefit, add that Alberta advantage to Alberta as well. And adding to that ecosystem, we feel like we have this unique facility that we're able to add that value. So we're very excited to work with companies, work with health innovation, and really help our health space here in our province as well.
No, for sure. How about actually, I mean, this wasn't kind of the little list of questions I sent you,
That's
but
okay.
what about, you when I like connecting them to doctors, like not that side of things, but say students or up and coming medical professionals that maybe want to be an entrepreneur, and maybe don't want, or want to be a doctor, want to be work for a startup, or is there any opportunities for some of maybe these younger students that maybe haven't that been able to kind of join companies or get mentorship from some of these other medical doctors that have actually have done the startup thing and then going down that entrepreneurship process?
Yeah, for sure. So, what we've done actually at NAIT is starting to build in health innovation into our culture. So, really working with students, putting on different types of workshops, letting our students actually be a part of those
Nice.
simulations with the health innovation, because we know that our students will become the professionals that work out. So, we need entrepreneurs, we need innovators from every different background and lens. And as well as we have within our health roster, any student, any medical or healthcare student, resident can also join to be a part of um, our roster to help in that innovation space as well. So we're really looking at, or even if companies, what we've also provided companies was just a focus group that they had an idea and they needed a group of professionals to actually just that unbiased opinion to provide feedback as well. So we were able to just provide a focus group from representation across Alberta, different clinical backgrounds, to provide them some of that feedback that they required.
It's kind of like full circle, right? You have, the young, the experienced, and you're kind of colliding worlds everywhere in between.
Yes. And that's what you want, ideally. You
Oh,
want
yes.
many opinions from different levels of seniority to experience and clinical backgrounds, so that the entrepreneur can really get that wholesome understanding of the system and that feedback.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Again, I think that's so important with, especially you working with, maybe you can expand on, really, working with your UFC partnership and working with rural. I mean, there's so many great ideas out there in rural, and maybe they feel stuck, and maybe they don't know, maybe they've never heard of CAMS before, maybe they just like, it's probably a dumb idea anyway, and they get none of that support. So I think it's important to, get you what you guys do out there, the word out there, and obviously in the life science world, it's a smaller community, like, you know,
Yeah.
within an ecosystem here. So I think it's very important. So why don't you talk about some of the partnerships that you have throughout the province?
Yeah, so we have a lot of great partnerships throughout the province, and we have also some really great funding that is being sponsored by the Alberta government, the Major Innovation Fund, um, which was a medical device. So it's a Medico, which is actually headed up by University of Calgary's team. And it's a collaboration with University of Calgary, University of Alberta, NAIT, CAMS, as well as Polytechnic. So it's really looking at the research side of medical devices. So this is going to be really important, again, for Alberta, looking at our ecosystem, starting in that really research phase and working with students to embed them into this process of medical device development here in Alberta. And then, of course, looking at how do we take that from academia and then work on that commercialization process so that our health system benefits from all of this great work that is being done from a research capacity. So those are some of the really great projects that the Alberta government is really starting to fund, these different pockets, especially in that health innovation and life sciences space here in Alberta.
Are you working with any non-medical professionals, like to say, come, maybe an entrepreneur comes in and they're going through their simulation and testing, and they're like, "Man, I really need some business help," type thing, or
Mhm.
I don't understand. I come from, we see it a lot of academia, maybe don't understand the business side of things. Is there a lot of help or marriages that you create there?
Yeah. So we don't specifically do that within CAMS. We really kind of stick to our niche. However, we really work with all of the other University of Calgary. We're really looking at different opportunities in Edmonton. As you mentioned, it's Edmonton Unlimited Startup Week.
Yeah.
So really, if someone comes to us, we're able to direct them. Working with kind of different organizations, you need to go to BioHubX. You should go talk to API. Here's your contact. So
Yeah.
we're really good, or IHE is another one, Institute of Health Economics. You should probably start here if it's MedLab, Adept, really pointing them. One of the things that I do think we need to work on in Alberta is really that roadmap of where the companies go. Sometimes it's really overwhelming and not knowing which different kind of organization that you should be looking at first. So what I have found in my experience is everyone is really great at saying, you know what, here's a soft introduction to this person at this organization. I think you should start your conversation there, and trying to help those entrepreneurs navigate the system a little bit better, because it is fragmented. It's getting better. It's something we're all working towards. But we're happy to say that is not within our area or our scope. We're not everything to everyone. But here's where you can go to get that support.
Yeah, don't get me started on that roadmap.
I know.
You're
That
looking
should
at
be, yeah, the next project, right? So when someone develops the roadmap.
I've been trying to oh, yeah. It's
I
like
know.
every time we have someone's like, "Oh God, we need artificial intelligence. We need an app." I was like, "We just need a PDF." It's
Or pen
like
and paper, anything, a
I
picture.
will write that. When you're asking for help here. It's like,
Yeah,
oh my God. It just every time you put people in the room, it just gets more complicated. But that
yeah,
as we digress here. It's like,
exactly.
but again, it's good to hear that you work with Edmonton Unlimited or platform or whoever it may be, right? To get out there to say yes, there are people out there that are able to
Mhm.
guide you in the right way and help you, with some of the weaknesses that you may have as a business. So that's positive to hear. So I guess moving forward here, I mean, maybe let's talk two things. What's your short term goal for CAMS, maybe within a year, and then maybe a 5 to 10 year BHAG vision.
Yeah. So I think our short-term goal, which is probably almost a BHAG goal, is to really work with almost every company in Alberta that we can support, that could use our simulation services to advance their commercialization, just as a province working to shorten that commercialization time.
Okay.
And then when we're really looking at that 3 to 5 years, we're really looking at opening our services across Canada, and really becoming that hub and that excellence of Alberta that we are, that, we have companies coming to us for testing because of our facilities, our world-class facilities, our accreditations, things like that, really kind of set us apart from, I would say, almost all of the simulation centers within Canada.
I think that's great. I mean, it's kind of like becoming the A camp, right? Like they do
Yeah.
such a good job on, on the tech and developing and bringing people in and really helping them. So I think that's a really good goal. I mean, it's especially as we grow as, in my opinion, as a tech powerhouse, like, having more of these things where entrepreneurs don't have to say, go to Ontario, go to Montreal, go
Yeah.
anywhere. I mean, you're seeing less and less and less of that as we evolve as an ecosystem. So having that as a goal for the Center for Advanced Medical Simulation, I think is brilliant.
Yeah. Great.
So on that note, I'm going to change up the last question a little
You
bit
bet.
here.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, it just like a little poof. Here you go. Like put you on the spot. But because it's been a great conversation. Obviously, when we first met at Inventures, and you're filling me in, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. This is such a need, and I wanted to make sure that we came on the right time so more people can hear all the great things that you're doing. So, you've kind of answered this a little bit, so I want you to think of it outside the scope of some of the
Okay.
things that you said. But if you had one piece of advice for an entrepreneur that was, getting ready or thinking about coming into the CAMS program, what should they do to get ready?
That's a great question. They just really need to be able to articulate what their device or their innovation does, and then be open to the feedback of how we create that within the system. So really testing early, be open to the feedback. And it's really important that you're getting frontline real practitioners, your device in the hands of them early on. Because quite often we have innovators that are coming to us with an idea of who their end user is and where it will be used. And that's maybe not always the most accurate representation based on, family feedback or different feedback they've received or perceived, a perceived idea of how the health system works. So I think it's really opening your mind before coming to us and being open with that feedback and coming early. The earlier, the better. Even the earlier the conversation, you might be not ready for that usability testing. You might be 6 months out, but having that conversation early and then coming and testing early and often.
That's a great answer. And I want to kind of unpack two things. Like, you saying our health system is difficult to get into?
I didn't say that.
I'm kidding. We won't go there.
Yeah. It's challenging.
Exactly. I think that's a great, your point there being on open, being ready for, be able to absorb a lot of the things, because who you think your end user is, a lot of the times, or what problem you think that you're solving for them is a heck of a lot different than what actually they are looking for. So having those conversations early makes a big difference in the route that you take as an entrepreneur, the amount of money that you might have to spend as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
and maybe saves you a pivot and time, 3, 6, 9 months, a year down the road that you haven't figured that out. So I love that answer.
Great.
I think it's so important, for the earlier the better, that somebody gets in, and and being involved in this ecosystem for almost 10 years now, like, you really see that people are open for those conversations, whether it be coming to Peer Guidance, coming to CAMS, going to Platform or Edmonton Unlimited or wherever they go. They're getting a lot of the right advice. And the good thing about this is, even as you could probably attest to this, Kerri, you might not know the answer, but you could probably say, you know what, this doctor does, or Jade does, or somebody in Edmonton does, right? And then have them go have a really good, open and honest conversation with somebody.
Yeah. And the other tricky thing about the health innovation space, and it's almost a whole other conversation, but the end user is not always the person who's paying for it either.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily, you know, a B2C, it's not necessarily a B2B either. So really looking at that system, and that's where great places like IHE can really support and look at what does that mean of who's actually going to be your paying customer and who's your end user who will actually be using it.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so glad that we were finally able to connect and come on telling it like it is and share the CAMS story. So, thank you so much, Kerri,
Yeah, you bet.
for what you guys are doing and helping all the entrepreneurs out there become more efficient and better, and all the support that you give them. That is excellent.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It was fun.
It's always fun. I love having
Yeah,
these conversations. That's why I can still do it.
it's great. Yeah,
You got to be
you
able to
bet.
have a little laugh, have a good conversation,
Yeah,
and it makes for a good talk.
you bet.
For again, any information, please go to the website, click on it, NAIT, the Center of Advanced Medical Simulation. It'll take you directly there. Also, click on the website for Thriving Minds, Empowering Innovators. We all know that, being an entrepreneur, has a lot of struggles. There will be a lot of other entrepreneurs there. We sold out in 2 days, so there is a need for it, as it shows. And the collectively tangled peer guidance, there'll be a lot of people there that you can talk to. It'll be an open forum, but we also have some one-on-one after, if you're looking for a little more support, a little more help on the mental wellness side. So please click on that on the comment section to register. And again, Kerri, thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
Enjoy your startup week in Edmonton. I am very, very sad I'm not there, and I look forward to our paths crossing soon.
Yeah, you bet.
I hope everybody has a great Wednesday, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.